Hello, welcome to another episode of Set Musings. So we're up to the third set of the Khans of Tarkir block. This is Dragons of Tarkir. As you can see, 264 cards. It was released on the 27th of the 3rd, 2015. And it's a large set. And you do occasionally get a large third set. It's probably was more common in Magic during the period of the 3-set blocks to have a small third set. So the usual thing was always, large first set, second set small, third set small. But then with certain blocks, that basic framework format wasn't always followed, so you might have the third set being a large set. Maybe part of the theme of the block as a whole was to have at some point in the block a reboot going on. So the consequence here, we've got a lot more cards to play around with and have a look at, but we'll be slicing it up in the same way. So we'll be slicing, with things like type and colour and the themes, mechanics, keywords, abilities as well, and then various other things like rarities. So themes and mechanics, we've got dragons, we've got 2-colour dragon broods as well. So there's this concept in here. We had in the Khans of Tarkir the clans, and in Fate Reforged we saw clans and broods, and now we're seeing broods. Keywords and abilities to watch out for: bolster, rebound, exploit, dash, formidable and megamorph. Out of the 264 cards in the set, 101 are commons, 80 are uncommons, there's 53 rares, 15 mythic rares, 15 basic lands. So that means there's 3 pieces of artwork for each of the 5 colours of mana. So I'm just going to scroll down here so we can get a feel for the artwork generally. Again, of course, as we're moving through Magic's history, we'll see that the artwork definitely is a lot tighter to the themes of the set. And we'll have a look in a moment with the reprints as well, how that might manifest itself with reprints, where when there's a reprint in a set and it's quite thematically different from maybe the artwork that was used originally, then the artwork might get changed. And as always, on Friday of the week that this goes out, we'll be taking a close look at some of the artwork for cards that I pulled out of boosters. So we're still on all the monocolour cards here, and in a moment, once we get past green, and you can sort of see where my scroll bar currently is, we'll get a feel for, here we go, now we're going into multicolour. So we see a number of 2-colour cards, and then we're into our artifacts, but you'll notice that they have coloured activation costs in them as well. But also notice the watermarks here. We have an Evolving Wilds in the set, and there's our basic lands, which we'll take a look at in a moment. So 16 cards are reprints, and as I've said, a number of these may well have new artwork. You'll notice Evolving Wilds here. This is quite different artwork than maybe we're used to seeing on a lot of previous Evolving Wilds, and indeed if we go in and view all the prints, you can see over Magic's history that there has been a number of changes to the Evolving Wilds artwork at various points. Going from when it was originally printed. And often in the core set they reuse that original artwork, but you can see here there's a change, and then the set we're looking at here, and then projecting forward. Interesting here as well, look. Two different pieces of artwork as well. So those are the reprints. There's 16 of those. We've got 233 cards that aren't reprints and weren't reprints at that point in Magic's history. Obviously since then they may well have been reprinted in later sets. So going through the different colours now. So we have 15 colour cards which are colourless to cast, but within that a number of these, and you probably guess these form a cycle, that have a coloured activation cost in them. So these from a colour identity perspective are 2 colour, and there's 5 of those, and then the rest are all, you know, have colourless activation costs where that is in the rules text. Some of them don't have any activation cost in here. So we've got 210 cards where the colour in the casting cost is just a single colour. And as we go through, again, you might notice that although the casting cost is 1 colour, there may be other colours outside of that involved in the rules text. But we'll just see as we walk through this whether or not that might be the case for this set. It's 210 of those. 21 cards where the colour is 2 colour in the casting cost. And you can see a number of those are dragons, both legendary and regular. And you'll also notice the presence of watermarks on all of those except for the Planeswalker. And I just wanted to flag up here, just in case I did forget when I was going through the 0 colour ones. Although there's no colour in the casting cost, the colour identity is affected by what's in the rules text. Now there is a 3 colour card, and that is Sarkhan Unbroken, which is another Planeswalker. So we have 30 cards which are creatures, and they have white in the casting cost. You can see here those cards also fall in a number of different dragon broods, which is what these watermarks represent. And we'll see in a moment when we go through the different broods how that might map onto the various keywords and ability words. But for the moment we're just really curious about what sort of creature types and subtypes you might be seeing here. So you can see already we're in white, we've got a number of humans, we're also seeing warriors as a subtype, soldiers, we've got birds as a creature type, and it looks like a number of monks, but definitely a number of warrior subtypes. Then you'll see there's a couple of monocoloured dragons here, and then a number of the 2 coloured cards not only are they dragons, but they also have white in the casting cost. And you can see there's 3 in white blue and 3 in green white. And 2 of those are regular creatures, and 1 of each is a legendary creature in each of those colour combinations. Moving into blue. So again, if we keep our eyes open, we'll probably see there's a couple of monocolour dragons here. We've got wizards as a subtype, monks, and you can see there, as we look through, we're seeing the odd human crop up. Even got a fish and a serpent. Birds as well in blue. And then of course moving on to the 2 colour cards, we're starting to see a pattern here. So there's 6 cards which have blue in the casting cost. You've got white blue is one, blue black is the other, and within that 2 regular creatures and 1 legendary. In black again 2 monocolour dragons. A couple of orcs, some more humans here, more warriors as well as a subtype, skeleton zombies. So a number of orcs, quite a few zombies as well. You also probably notice the presence of some monocoloured legendary creatures across the different colours. Yeah, so definitely a high prevalence of zombies here. And again, now here, yeah, again our dragons, 3 and 3, 3 in blue black, 3 in black red with the usual regular creature, legendary creature breakdown there. 27 red cards. What have we got? Ogres, goblins, again humans here, some shamans, berserkers, and warriors again. So we've seen this in the previous set, a lot of warriors cropping up across the sets, across colours. So our 2 monocoloured dragons. Again, you may have noticed the dragon brood watermarks here. So 3 and 3 again down the bottom in the 2 colours. And not surprisingly, those 2 watermarks crop up in the monocoloured cards in red as well. And finally on to green, 31 green cards that have green in the casting cost. So, okay, so hounds seem to be a thing in green in this set. We've got 3 of those. More warriors. There's a couple of green archers. Yeah, human warriors. There's our green dragon. There's another one. So our 2 green dragons. Human soul, yeah, elemental. We're seeing a few elementals again across colours. But yeah, more warriors, more soldiers, more humans. There's our monocolour legendary creature in green, and the dragons that share green as a colour in their 2 colour casting cost. Okay, so big spells. We have 8 cards where the mana the mana value is greater than 6, and these are in mana value order. So we're starting off with 7 casting cost and going up to 9. And if you look at this, you can see, what do we have here? So we've got a couple of big spells where they're 2 colour dragons, one of which is a legendary, one is not. We've got a couple of monocolour dragons which are 7 to cast, and then other non-creature spells. So Hedonist Trove, Profound Journey, Volcanic Vision, Clone Legion. I mentioned that dragons were a thing. So there are actually 26 dragons in the set. And you can see here the various watermarks. So I'm just looking down here. So it would appear that as far as the dragons are concerned, for the monocolour dragons, they are consistently, for their colour, in the same brood. And then you move on to the 2-colour dragons, and then, as you can see, the white-blue ones are obviously same brood, and the blue-black ones are in a different brood, and so on. Black-red, one brood, and then red-green, another one, and so on to green-white. We've also got Sign of Ugin, which is a colourless dragon spirit, 4/4 for 6 with flying. So yeah, a fair amount of dragon action going on there. 26 cards, although in a large set, and the fact that you'll notice that in the monocoloured dragons, for the monocoloured dragons, one of them is at uncommon, and the same is the same true for the 2-colour dragons. You've got one that is at uncommon as well, so that's good. So when you're opening packs with them being at the lower end of the rarity scale, not the very bottom, they're not commons, but at the lower end, you're more likely to see them as you open packs. So if you're drafting or you're playing with the sealed pool, which is what you want, if you're trying to tell the player who maybe isn't familiar with the set and hasn't had a chance to go through it, like, this is what the theme is. Then if you're pushing them into lower rarities and they're playing a limited game where they're using a sealed pool or they're drafting, then that's going to filter through a lot quicker. Choice was a thing in the set as well. So I mentioned dragons, I mentioned 2-colour dragon broods, and broods generally. But we have this choice thing, which we saw in the other set. These set of modal cards. I don't think there's quite as many, and of course that's interesting because this is a larger set, but a number of these are at common. Whereas, choose on the previous set, it was a small set, so you're more likely to see that quicker when you're opening packs. So now on to the actual different, dragon broods as through the watermarks. So what do we have here? We've got Dramoka, which is a parallel with the Abzan houses, the Abzan clans in some way, and this is white-green as the colours, and the mechanic is bolster. I'll go through the mechanics individually in a moment, but there's 37 cards which have the Dramoka watermark on them, but they won't necessarily all have bolster on them, but bolster is the mechanic. The Dragon Lord is Dragon Lord Dramoka, and all the Dragon Lords are just called Dragon Lord and then the name of the clan. We have 33 of the Ojutai clan, so parallels with the Jeskai Way. This is a 2-colour clan as opposed to a 2-colour brood as opposed to a 3-colour clan, and the 2 colours in here are blue and white. It's got Rebound as the mechanic, and as I've said before, that won't necessarily appear on all of the cards with the particular watermark. And the Dragon Lord is Dragon Lord. I'm having a problem with my pronunciation today. Ojutai. Sorry. Ojutai. Then we're moving on to Silumgar, and parallels with the Sultai brood. This is a black, blue colour combination. Has Exploit as a mechanic on some of those cards with the watermark. And we've got Dragon Lord. Silumgar is the Dragon Lord. 23 Kulagan brood cards. Parallels with Mardu Horde. Dash is the mechanic. And Dragon Lord. Kulagan is the Dragon Lord. And then moving finally onto a Tarkir, so green-red, parallels with Timur in the first set of the block. Mechanics Formidable, and with these symbols, they represent different parts of the dragon. So this is the claw of the dragon here for the broodware Dragon Lord. Tarkir is the Dragon Lord, and you'll see on the other ones, this is supposedly the wings of the dragon, this is the fang of the dragon, and this is the eye of the dragon, and this is the scale of the dragon. But if you're already familiar with the watermarks for the different clans that we've seen in in the first set, and then part of the second set, you'll notice there's similarities between the watermarks. So, Rebound on the Ojutai. So with Rebound, if you cast this spell from your hand, exile it as it resolves. At the beginning of your next upkeep, you may cast this card from exile without paying its mana cost. And you can see that's the same on all of the cards. And there's even a planeswalker that can impart Rebound. Exploit, which is Silumgar. So when this creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. And then after it, you've got, what happens if it exploits a creature. So what gets triggered. So 10 of those. We've got 10 dash cards. So Kulagan, Dragon Brood. So with dash, you'll see. So this is one where it's like an alternative casting cost. So you've got the regular casting cost here, 2 and a black. So for this one, it's got a dash cost of 3 and a black. So you may cast this spell for its dash cost. If you do, it gains haste and it's returned from the battlefield to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So with these, some will be more expensive and some will be less expensive. When you compare to their original casting cost. I was curious here as to if any of these with dash on them have an ETB on them. That one does. Only one. And then we have Formidable. So a Tarkir, and with Formidable, so you can see there's an activation cost for it to activate Formidable, and then each creature you on this one, so you'll see it's different for different ones. So each creature you control can't be blocked this turn except by 2 or more creatures. Activate this ability only if creatures you control have total power 8 or greater. So that formidable is tied to a condition of creatures having a total power of 8 or greater. But the effect, as you can see, is quite different on different cards. And there's 12 of those. Then we've got things like Megamorph, which are across multiple dragon clans, dragon broods. And with Megamorph, you've got the Megamorph cost. So again, alternative casting costs. So if you pay them, just clarify that. So the alternative casting cost here is 3. And if you pay 3 when you cast this, you cast it face down. And it's a 2/2 creature. At any time, you can pay its Megamorph cost and turn it face up and put a 1/1 counter on it. And it looks like it's always a single 1/1 counter. I don't think I see multiples of counters. Now you also notice that there are some cards where something triggers when the card is turned face up. Now of course there may be other conditions attached to that, but not all of them have that, but obviously useful in a set. Extra utility where if you choose to cast a card face down and then Megamorph it, for some of the cards something else gets triggered when you do that morph. Moving on to the cycles, we've got a cycle of 4 Makans here in this particular set. So with this, the 4 Makans are there's 4 legendary creatures and a mythic planeswalker that represent the fate of the Khans from the original Khans of Tarkir in a new timeline. So what they've done for dragons is they've messed with the timeline. And so there's certain cards in the set which you might notice they represent an alternative fate, if you like, of a character from the set. So these are the Khans from the original Khans of Tarkir book, represented under the Dragons of Tarkir. 4 legendaries and a planeswalker, or 4 legendary creatures and a legendary planeswalker. Cycle of Regents, so 5 rare mono-coloured dragons with double coloured mana in their mana cost. And we've seen this earlier when we're going through the dragons. Then we have a Megamorph cycle at rare. So these are 5 rare 2/1 creatures that cost 1 and a colour to 1 and a colour to cast. They also have Megamorph as well, which is variable, and an in colour spell like ability that triggers when they're turned face up. A cycle of uncommon monocolor dragons. They're all 3/3s. They all cost 5 and the appropriate colour to cast. They have flying. Obviously they're dragons. They have a second keyword ability, as you can see, in with the flying. They also have Megamorph for 5 and then 2 of the appropriate colours, and with an additional trigger to put another +1/+1 counter on them. as well. So Mega Megamorph. Cycle of monocolour hate spells add on common, and they hate on enemy coloured targets. As you can see, they're both of their enemy colours. There's, I think these are called Dragon's Matter cards. So 5 uncommon monocolour cards that have an effect, and an additional effect if you control or reveal a dragon card as the spell is cast. Each are of the secondary clan colour. And you can see these, 2 of them are creatures and the others are instants. Cycle of Dragon Lords, 1 for each of the 2 colour combinations, and here you'll see that the 2 colour combinations are allied colours. So they're mythic legendaries as well, and they're aged up versions of their Fate Reforged counterparts. Cycle of Monuments. Again, there's a reference to the particular dragon brood, and they can become dragons for a certain cost. So they're all 3 to cast. You can use them to create mana, so they're mana rocks in their unactivated form, and then if you activate them until end of turn they become a dragon. 1 for each of the 2 colour combinations. Cycle of Commands, so 5 rare allied colour modal spells with increasing converted cost, with 4 options, allowing you to choose 2. They're similar to the monocolour command cycle from Lorwyn. And you can see, as I said, there's quite a bit of variability there with the casting cost. And you get to choose 2. Moving on to the uncommon gold dragons, so 5 uncommon 4/4 allied coloured dragons that cost 4, and then the 2 colours, they have flying and an additional in colour ability. And you can see here there is a, like this whenever trigger on, was it 4 out of the 5? And then the 5th one has this ETB ability. More dragons. So these are the rare gold dragons. They're 5 rare allied coloured dragons that appear as the face of the intro packs. We've got a pair, mirrored pair, Hidden Dragon Slayer and Silumgar Assassin. Rare creatures with Megamorph that destroys a creature depending on its power when unmorphed. So 15 mythics in the set, of which some we've seen already, and we've seen, you know, the 2 colour dragons, we've seen Narset, we've seen Sarkhan Unbroken. The remainder are various creatures. Now notice the monocoloured legendaries are not at mythic. Three each of the colours of mana for basic land. So 3 pieces of very distinct artwork. That's very nice artwork. Only 2 non-basic lands in the set, Evolving Wilds, which we did see before because I focused in on this artwork, and then Haven of the Spirit Dragon. So one's at common, one is at rare. The rare one adds 1 to your mana pool. Tap, add 1 mana of any colour to your mana pool. Spend this mana only to cast a dragon creature spell. 2 tap, sacrifice Haven of the Spirit Dragon, return target dragon creature card or Ugin Planeswalker card from your graveyard to your hand. So very specific. "11 legendaries. And one thing you'll notice here we're seemingly missing one of the monocolour legendaries. So let's just work back here. So we've got the 3 colour Sarkhan Unbroken. We've got the 5 2-colour legendary creature Elder Dragons. We have Narset, and then we have 4 legendary creatures. So we're missing a mono blue one here in the set. What we do have is an Anafenza, Sidisi, Zergo and Surak. And so what you'll notice is that cycle was composed of the 4 legendary creatures and Narset, because the theme of the cycle was that they are characters in a new timeline. So instead of this one being mono blue, it happens to be white blue. And it's not a legendary creature, it's a legendary planeswalker. So 135 creatures in the set, and as we've seen, various abilities stapled to these that are obviously thematic to the set and to the different dragon broods. We have 14 enchantments. I'm just looking to see if any of these have... so that has bolster on it. I think the others don't have anything specific to the keywords of the broods. And you can see, I would say the vast majority also don't have a brood watermark on them. Only 3 out of the 14 do. Nine auras, and remember they've reprinted pacifism for the set. We also have battle mastery in here. And I'm just looking down to see. So again with green, you often see this in sets. I think in the last set they didn't do it, but generally in sets, often the green aura enchants a land. You might also see black auras that hate on land in some way and enchant them. So here, they're all enchanting creatures apart from this last green one. Also notice they're only, apart from the green one, they're only in white and blue, and there's an equal number. We've also got some conditional ones here. Well, you can only like enchant a red or green creature. Then we have 4 artifact creatures, 3 of which are golems, and then we have a gargoyle, which cares about whether you control dragons. Only 3 pieces of equipment. Seven artifacts, of which 5 are part of that monument cycle. So additionally, we've got Tapestry of the Ages, which is an interesting conditional card draw artifact. And then we've got Vial of Dragonfire, which is a damage spell stapled to it, which you can activate and sacrifice it. 52 instants, so quite a number of instants in the set. I don't think I'll go through these in the usual detail, but I'm just going to bring them down slowly, and you can sort of see usual things. So we've got pump, protection, destruction, exile or conditional exile, life gain. You notice we've got a bit of bolster going on, and tokens in white, more conditional destructions. There's quite a bit of conditional destruction there and exiling. In blue, library manipulation, exile combined with library manipulation, counter spells, asymmetric pump and hexproof, more library manipulation, conditional counter spell, tap down, more conditional counter spells. In black we've got asymmetric pump with another ability, death touch and pump, that thing you often see in black where depletion of power, toughness to kill it in various forms. There's an X spell and flatten, which is -4/-4. Graveyard recovery, sacrifice, and life gain. That's curious. Life drain and gain. What's that? Reverse mill. So you're taking stuff from your graveyard, putting it on top of your library. Conditional destruction, and then we're into red, so more asymmetric pump with an ability, damage here in various forms and degrees, tutoring, more damage, more asymmetric pump. A collected company was in the set, forgot about that. So tutoring, there's a modal thing in green to do with destruction, which is an interesting thing you don't always see in green except through fight spells. Again, there's some instance in here that just basically are based around the ability of the set, or an ability of the set. Card draw, enchantment, artifact destruction, flying hate, pump, damage prevention, asymmetric pump. So you can see there's quite a bit of asymmetric pump across the different colours. And then as we move down to the bottom here, then you see there's a number of modal spells in the different 2 color combinations, one for each of the color combinations. And of course it's the commands there at instant speed. Only 25 sorceries. Seems we've got quite a lot in blue there. So in terms of white, we've got more pump, graveyard recursion in white, in blue, tokens, card draw, more tokens, library manipulation, asymmetric, pump, bounce in black, card draw based on life loss, conditional destruction based on power, hand manipulation, or hand disruption should I say, conditional sacrifice, in red sorcery speed destruction, and we've got tokens, temporary control of a target creature, making things, well, conditional, so this one's an interesting combination of creatures without flying can't block this turn. So, you know, a non-conditional blocking or unblocking is something you normally see in blue, but we've got in red. It's attached to a condition. Large damage spell, but again conditional. You can see a lot of this is conditional on it not having flying, which is, you know, thematically interesting for the set. Yeah, conditional card draw, something you occasionally see in red, which you're seeing here. Then we've got artifact and land destruction, instant sorcery speed, recursion. Oh, here's green removal, epic confrontation, so pumping combination with fight. Explosive vegetation is our green land tutoring spell. And then Sunbringer's Touch, Expulsor spell, based on the number of cards in hand. Yep. There's a set again. Notice we do have a we do have a colourless creature that isn't an artifact. It's probably been the first one in a little while, actually. Right, price-wise, what are we looking at here? So Sarkhan Unbroken's the most expensive card in the set at $23. Collected Company, $16.41. Then we get to a Dragon Lord. So then there's a drop. This is just above $10, and then regular, well, an enchantment, Dragon Tempest, so $9.64. I suppose with a dragon theme set, I'm going to see a lot of dragons, maybe with higher prices, particularly if they haven't been reprinted in sets, because they're going to be popular in people's dragon decks, in Dragon Tribal. No, our set is 8. Yeah, so we've gone below $10 fairly quickly after 3 cards in the set. Is that? Yeah. So moving on to the focusing through our EDH lens. So in terms of the stuff that crops up more on EDH Rec that aren't reprints, you can see top of the list is Impact Tremors, then we've got Inspiring Call, Dragon Tempest. Sidisi is our first of our legendaries, and that's over the other dragons, or over the other different types of legendary creatures. Even the regular dragons. And then for the reprints, no surprise to see Evolving Wilds at the top, and we got Negate, Explosive Vegetation, Tormenting Voice, which is great if you're playing mono red and you want a way of drawing cards. Naturalize, Dragon Fodder, Battle Mastery, Duress, so on. When you combine those two together, so we just keep an eye on Evolving Wilds and see where that ends up. Top of the list. So it's interesting, a lot of the reprints overtake the non-reprints, the newer cards. But again, Sidisi's pretty high up there, as is Dragon Tempest. Let me just have a look at this again. Impact Tremors, Inspiring Call. So they're here and here. So the top two spots in the set, in terms of their ranking on EDH Rec, are taken up by reprints, and then you've got the new cards at that time starting to kick in. So Explosive Vegetation, because I was curious, is originally from Onslaught. That's pretty nice artwork. And there is a version of it in the Plane Chase set with the old artwork in a new border. So this must have been changed specifically for this set, and then going forward it looks like they switched back to that. So is that saying this is the only set, yeah, with that artwork in it? That's cool. Okay. So if I scroll down here in this article, what do we got? So intro packs. So again, intro packs still got 2 boosters in them. You can see all of these are allied, 2-color allied. Mass Ranks, Enlightened Mastery, Cruel Plots, Relentless Rush, Furious Forces. We, if you remember, are alternating between Clash packs and event decks in the sets as they go through. So the first set in the block would have been event decks, second set would have been a Clash pack. We're back to event decks now for the third set in the block. That way, the event decks, the Clash packs always lined up with the second set of the block and the core set, and then the event decks with the first and third. Of course, we're getting close now to when they move over to 2-set blocks, so we'll see what happens on going forward on other weeks when I'm doing this as to what Wizards did next. So Master Ranks, it's pretty. You probably gathered already what these intro packs are based around, but we might as well go through them. So with the white green one is centering around Dramoka, and that has Arashin Sovereign and Secure the Waste. And if you remember, one of these is a foil card. Enlightened Mastery, white blue, Ojitai. I said it right. Pristine Skywise and Mythrealize, there are rares. Cruel Plots, blue black, Silumgar, Necromaster Dragon and Profaner of the Dead. And you notice that the dragons are the rare non-legendary dragon. Relentless Rush, Black Red, Colligan, Bolt Wing Marauder and Foul Renewal. And then finally Red Green, which is Furious Forces, and that is Berserker's Onslaught and Harbinger of the Hunt. So for these, as you can see, the foil artwork is all of those rare non-legendary creature dragons. Okay, let's have a look at the event deck. So these cast an even wider net in terms of the sets they can come out. Basically, as long as the set is legal in standard when this deck went out, then it's fair game. With the other ones, with the intro packs, you'll notice basically they can have cards with anything from the block. I think that also includes, at this point, they were also including stuff from the core set as well in some cases. Although I couldn't tell you off the top of my head which of these were, if any, from the core set. But yeah, the event decks can go back to the previous block as long as they were legal and standard at the time. So you've got a blue, red, green deck named Landslide Charge, and it's featuring large creatures and red burn spells. And so if we look at the land base, we've got Evolving Wilds, Frontier, Bivouac. For some of these, this won't be the exact artwork because the rollover just pops up the most recent artwork. Temple of Abandon, Forest Mountain, and a single island. But then we have obviously got some stuff in here from the block, but then we've got things like Fanatic of Xenagos, which was in the previous block. Now we do have Suruk, but then things like Miscutter, Hydra, and also just bring your attention again. If this is the first video you've watched where I've been talking about an event deck, they've got a sideboard in them, and you'll notice many more rares. These were much more expensive to buy. I don't even know if I've got this event deck or not. So the Commander Durdle video, just to give you an idea where we're going with this. So I decided to use Sidisi, seeing as that was the most popular legendary creature from the set that was in, or when you compare it to EDH Rec. Plus I just wanted to seed the deck with Exploit and see what happened, where it took me, what rabbit hole it took me down. So with Exploit, when this creature enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice a creature. I'll talk a little bit more about this seed when we actually get to the video, but you can probably guess what I've done is pulled in utility spells that were in the set, obviously the land from the set, and then a number of creature spells which have Exploit on them. And if these creature spells obviously prove to be weaker than other creature spells that have better synergies with Sidisi or the deck in general, then they will possibly be removed. But what I'm trying to do is force the algorithm that's built into here to sort of take me down an Exploit friendly set of cards, just see where I go. That might not happen. Have you seen in previous episodes, that's part of the fun, and we may end up with a zombie tribal deck, quite possibly. So we'll see. Thanks once again for watching, and I will catch you in the next episode. Bye for now.